Welcome to everybody who's watching us on our Zoom platform and live on Facebook. My name is Carolyn Dubé. I'm the Executive Director of Fertility Matters Canada. We are the national charity and patient resource for people who are struggling to build their families. We provide information, education, and resources for people who are trying to build their families in alternative methods due to infertility. So we are celebrating Canadian Infertility Awareness Week, and all week we've been chatting with um, patients and fertility experts from across Canada and the US, actually, to talk about the latest information and support needed for patients. And today I am thrilled, very honored to be speaking to Cindy. She is the mother of one of our advisory board members, Kelly, Kelly is a fertility patient who has not had a child yet. And as a result, Cindy, her mother, is still not a grandmother. And so we thought that this was a really important topic to talk about because infertility does it does affect an individual or a couple trying to build their family, but there is an entire network of people outside of that individual or couple who are affected. And so Cindy graciously said yes when I asked if she would share some of her story and her experiences with the world. So Cindy, thank you and welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here. And I'd love to know, I guess, a little bit before you found out that Kelly had, that they were struggling to have her family. Did you know anything about infertility? Did you have any understanding of what it was?
Well, I certainly understood people went through infertility. No, I can't say I had it cross my path at all. When I got pregnant with Kelly, so we're talking 30 some years ago, I honestly just took for granted that I'd get pregnant and realized this day that I was very fortunate that it did happen. And, I said to Kelly, I can't relate. I just can't imagine how that feels, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, I heard of IVF, but really wasn't involved with it. But the more you talk to people, which I do now, you find out my husband's sister 20 some years ago was affected by it. Wow. I've got a niece right now going through it. I've got two different sets of neighbors that we live by that have experienced it. So, it's certainly out there. Did I understand much about it? No, not really.
No. And it's interesting. So infertility affects 1 in 6 Canadian couples. It also affects members of the LGBTQ community. It also affects people who are trying to build families, single parents. And we support those as an organization. And I think the more that people talk about it and the more that we are open about our own journeys, if we're able to be, the more we find out that, wow, this does affect people. And so for you to be able to talk openly about your experience and Kelly's experience, I know Kelly's been very open about her experience, especially lately. That does help so many people, really. Yes. And truly. It does. Yeah. And it makes you feel like you're not alone and wow, this is actually in my backyard.
For sure. Yes.
So tell me how or when did you find out that Kelly was struggling to get pregnant? How did that happen?
Well, I remember talking to her one day and her telling me that she was going to contact a doctor to get checked out to see why she wasn't getting pregnant. And I just remember thinking, wow, I was just very surprised by that comment. So, I said something to the effect of give yourself some time or, it will happen or, you say those things. And she just said to me, Mom, it's been 2 years already. So obviously it was 2 years into it that she finally told me. And I was really quite shocked by that.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
It's, I am a patient and struggled. And looking back, I wasn't open with my family and my friends right away either. Yeah. And I'm a very open person. I feel like Kelly's probably a pretty outgoing person.
She
and
is
I struggled. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it wasn't until looking back that I actually thought, I didn't tell my parents right
Mhm.
away. It was months. It may have even been close to a year um, by the time I actually said something. Um, and so I can understand it was probably quite shocking to know that your daughter had been struggling for 2 years. I mean, that seems like a very long
Right.
period of time to hold
Yes.
that in. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So tell me, what's been the hardest part looking at this journey? Obviously, it affects, your daughter, but tell me how it affected you. What's been the hardest part for you so far?
For me, well, it's the feeling of helplessness. There's not a lot as a mom or anyone else really can do. You feel sad at times. You feel angry even at times, right? I guess it's painful observing what they're going through and just not being able to do much other than support them and cheer them on you know
Yeah, I can imagine waiting on the sidelines has been really difficult. I have
yeah,
young children, and I feel like if they were in a spot of, um, and it was difficult, if a difficult situation, I would feel very hopeless or helpless, not being able to fix what was wrong or what was hurting them.
right. It's not like putting a bandage on a scraped up knee you know
No, of
yeah.
course. Yeah. Um, so has there been anything along the lines that you found really interesting or um, that you were surprised to learn along this journey or as you've kind of walked? Because I know you've actually walked quite closely at some parts of Kelly's journey with her.
Yes, yes. I don't know if there's anything that surprised me. I certainly have learned a lot. um, you know IUI, IVF, ICSI, poo poo. Poo poo. I remember I went with Kelly to Victoria both times. We went in May of 19 and September of 19 for IVF treatments. And I was in the room with her when the transfer took place, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exciting leaving, and we're walking home. We walk there every day. And it was a beautiful day in Victoria, and we're walking home back to our Airbnb, and she said to me, "Mom, did you ever think you'd be in the same room as me when I got pregnant?" And it was like, we had a good laugh about that. I said, um, "No, not at all." So,
Never crossed your
I,
mind.
yeah, yeah. We, believe it or not, there's been a few times that we've been able to laugh a little bit about situations, and I'm going to tell you another one just
Oh,
because I think
great.
it was funny to us anyway. So
Yeah.
Kelly and her husband own a ranch, and a couple months ago, I had talked to her about um, the cows and how many were going to calf in the calving season, which is actually happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "So how many cows are you going to have?" And she said, "Oh, Mom, you don't want to know." And I said, "Yeah, I do want to know." She said, "Well, probably about 300." And I said, 300? Like, how many cows do you have? And she said, "Well, 300." And I said, "So you're telling me every cow you have is pregnant?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "If they're not pregnant, Matt ships them out." And I, I hesitated for a minute, and I just said, "Well, it's a good thing he didn't do that with you, huh?" And we just had a chuckle about that.
Oh, that's
It,
good. You have to find the humor.
you do, you do.
It can be very heavy.
Yeah, and I found what I've learned through this process is Kelly has been extremely strong throughout it.
Mhm.
Um, I'm sure she has her moments at home with her husband in privacy and that, but honestly, she, at least in front of me and what I see, she has been so positive about everything. And,
Mhm.
I'm really proud about that.
Of course, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And from our perspective, Kelly is a volunteer with Fertility Matters Canada and has spent a lot of time working behind the scenes for Canadian Infertility Awareness Week, making sure that all of these events that are happening so that patients like her can have the support and the information that they need to help them on this journey. And so you should be very proud because she's working incredibly hard for patients across Canada. Thousands of patients are benefiting from her help. So we're thrilled to have her. So you should be very proud.
Thank you.
How do you feel you're best able to support your daughter when you look at, you know, your relationship and what she's kind of been through? And I know that you don't even live really in the same city, so you're not even physically together outside of COVID times. You're not there all the time. Right. How do you feel that you can best support her?
Well, you just have compassion, understanding. You know, I went with Kelly, as I mentioned, to Victoria twice. So I was there for her for, you know, we did sightseeing. I cooked for her. I went with her to every doctor's appointment that she had. So, you know, I guess you be there for her as much as you possibly can, you know.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys have any conversation, you know, was there ever a point where you sat down and Kelly said, these are the things that could be helpful? I don't know that you have or haven't. You know, some people aren't they might not have ever had that conversation. I'm just curious to know if there was ever something she said, you know, this would be really helpful for me, or.
You know what? Not that I can think offhand.
Yeah.
Think of offhand. No. I just think we're just there for when they need support. And, you know, if we talked over the phone, of course, you know, I try to, you know, help and.
Absolutely.
You know, and yeah. I thought it was important going to Victoria with her. Of course, her husband couldn't go because he's a rancher. He can't be away that long.
Of course. Yeah.
So, you know, you don't want to go through something like that by yourself. So
absolutely.
I was happy that I was able to.
Yeah, that's really special. It's interesting to hear you talk about it because when I was going through IVF the first time, my husband was in the military, and it was actually posted away to northern Canada, and right in the middle of a cycle. And when it came time for my transfer, he wasn't there, and I did take my mom. So when you talk about that, my mom was there with me for one of my transfers, and that was really special. It was, I mean, something that I was happy to have support through. And it is a special moment to be able to share that with your parent, if you're able, when your spouse or significant other can't be there for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So tell me, Canadian Infertility Awareness Week, have you been kind of learning some stuff? I don't know how much you actually knew about CIAW, maybe even before Kelly got involved with our organization. So I'd love to know. No, and you probably wouldn't have connected otherwise, really. I'd love to know, you know, why do you think Canadian Infertility Awareness Week is important?
You know, just again, for the support it provides to everyone that's going through these, you know, these issues. It's a place where I guess the women can relate to each other because they're going through the same thing together. You know, it'd be similar to Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, everyone's going through the same, so it's much easier to relate because they know how you feel or what you're going through. So, you know, again, for me, I like to be there to support, but I can't relate to it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We do hear that a lot, you know, when people get connected with our support groups online or even our in-person support groups when we're able to have them. Being able to talk to someone who's actually either been there or who is going through it does make you feel less alone. Right. You know, if you've got family or friends who haven't experienced it, of course, they want to support you. They want to be there. Sometimes, you know, they struggle with, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Or they think that they're saying something helpful when actually it's hurting the patient inside, you know, when someone says, just relax, you guys need a vacation, it will happen. eventually that can start to wear on a patient and how they're feeling. And so we try to connect people with other patients so that they can chat with each other, even if it's just online, to sort out frustrations and share experiences to make you feel like you're part of something bigger than this isolated silo sometimes people can feel like they're in when they've been diagnosed with infertility.
Yes.
So I'd love to know, what would you tell other grandparents who aren't grandparents yet, if they're watching, what would you like to tell them?
Well, I guess it's not easy being a grandparent in waiting, but you need to be supportive, open-minded about what they're going through and possibly their choices of, or what their options, what they're thinking of options, like egg donation, surrogacy, adoption. I mean, I think as a grandparent, we just have to accept what their choices are going to be.
That's a great suggestion, because family building comes in lots of different ways, and sometimes, like you said, using a donor or using a surrogate, it may, for some people that might be new and maybe scary, but if they're able to help your child build a family, 6 months after that child is born, this will be blissful.
That's correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you, Cindy. I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us, because there are so many others just like you who are in this country and around the globe who are grandparents in waiting. I love that term.
Yeah.
I think we need t-shirts that say that, grandparent in waiting. Thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. I know it's not always easy. Thank you for supporting Kelly and her husband. I know that it is incredibly important to have supports. Not everybody gets that. Not everybody has that for lots of different reasons. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for supporting Canadian fertility patients by being here today and letting them know that, it's okay to talk to your family and friends about this. It's okay to lean on them for support if you can. And if, if you don't have a parent or sibling who isn't in your life for some reason, find a network of people who you're able to lean on to give you that support when you need it.
For sure.
Yeah. Cindy, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I hope that we'll be in touch again. And for all of you who tuned in to watch this session with us today, thank you for being here. It is Canadian Infertility Awareness Week 2020. We're celebrating Canadian fertility and the journey to building families in Canada through assisted reproductive technology. And please join in. Please check us out on social media for a list of all of our events, the past that we've been celebrating all week. We've got tons of events in our video archive. We've got events later tonight and all day tomorrow and Saturday for you to check out live. So thank you, Cindy. Have a great weekend. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.